Okay, TradingView, you do not want to miss this. I'm leaning into the camera for this one. This video is going to be super in depth. I'm going to cover a couple of trading tips and secrets. And at the end of this video, after I've covered the DXY or trading tips and secrets, we're going to jump to the gold market where we will apply those tips and tricks to develop a bigger and broader picture of where gold is currently, what it might want to do, especially after we get this picture of the dollar. So let's jump into it. We are doing our multi-time frame analysis. We're starting off on our monthly time frame where we will work down. Now each month is indicated by one candle on this chart. If you know trading, obviously that's a given. However, there's some people, let's be generous, that have not traded a ton and may not even know that much about the market, which we have all started there. It's trading. This is a process. It's not just something you just arrive at the moment you start. You may have beginner's luck, but you definitely don't arrive there. So what I want to accomplish when developing my edge doing this multi-time frame analysis is I'm developing and painting a picture of where price would like to go. Now, my job is not to be right. I'm not trying to draw the perfect structure. I am not trying to say that price has to even stay within the realms of that structure. However, with trading, I have developed an edge where I unconsciously now see patterns. I see certain styles of price, the way price plays out, areas where price comes to, things price arrives at, and it gives me a broader picture of where price goes. And with that edge, I have an edge of 65 to 70%. Currently, my aim is actually get that down to like 55 to 60%, meaning I take less trades, but I'm allowing my trades to play out for longer. I know having a high win rate is obviously ideal. However, sometimes having a high win rate also says kind of like the opposite thing about your trading. It's not that it's a good thing, it's that maybe you're taking your profits too early. Maybe you are really, that's about the only thing. You're taking your profits too early, and or you don't have a defined target within your risk parameters. So back to what I'm saying. I trade technicals. It gives me an edge. We are currently having on our technical view, we've had two main touches. Now, this is just a byproduct. This is just something, I marked over. And I like to factor that in because like Trendlines tell not just where price could go, but where price has had major reactions. Which I would count this as a major reaction. These just aren't random points in price. Look at the push we get up off of this point, and look at the push we stopped at this point. Right? Look at all the momentum we had over here on our monthly, and for it to hit this and push away, and then bounce up and hit this again, and then push up with just as much momentum, means that it's a high inflection point. Now, after I had these rejections here, I now had price come up, and most people would only see just this bit of price. It's like there's our higher high, there's our higher low, and price is kind of ranging inside of it. I use trend lines, which kind of give me other insights to price, not just this higher high and higher low here. Though I use them in the market, those aren't the things that I'm just living by. So I now extend my line off of this, off of this, off of these 2 points of touch on our weekly time frame. You can see that better, giving us a touch here where I would expect price to get a rejection. Now, here comes multi-time frame analysis. Let's develop the bigger picture. As I drop down into my weekly time frame, it's not just about price rejecting, right? You don't wait for price just to reject an area once and then you get your entire move off of it. No, price obviously does other things. So what we want to do in this instant is say, hey, what is price developing at this moment? Where are we at in price? What could price potentially do? And that way we aren't just blindly guessing, will the market go up or down? We now have a sense of price will react potentially in this manner, in this way, around these areas, telling us that price either wants to go up or price wants to go down. So I see immediately a flag, right? So this was our second touch, but I'm not taking that as gospel yet. Okay. So it's giving me like I'm starting to see a flag in this instance here. Okay. So that's like a flag. However, I know that's an imperfect flag. I know it's developing a pattern, but it hasn't formed its full pattern yet. And I can tell because this is one piece of price structure. This is another piece of price structure, which means it hasn't formed its full, bigger piece of price structure. Or sometimes price gives us these big drawn out patterns like this, but we can only see this much of it. However, after trading for so long, you start to realize like this is almost maybe a divide where you start to look at the price patterns differently past that point here, giving us an ascending there and a descending here. Now this is on our weekly time frame. I still want to keep this in mind as we're continuing to develop our bias of what the market is doing. As we drop down into our daily, and before I go further, why is this ascending and this touch so relevant? Well, ascending has two jobs in our trading strategy and our trading edge. People trade differently, so they're going to have different uses for what price does. However, when I use an ascending channel, I'm looking for a couple things. I'm looking for an ascending in the middle of structure, okay, like whoopsies. I'm looking for an ascending channel in the middle of structure like this, where I'm coming not just in the middle, but I'm saying in the middle in the sense of like we're coming off of a liquidity zone or maybe a double bottom where prices come back up and giving us that channel. I'm looking for an ascending in that situation because an ascending in this situation in the middle of structure indicates that price wants to continue. However, if I'm using the ascending in a different direction, here I'm looking for, and let's move this to there. I'm looking for price to be coming to a liquidity zone here, like the top of a high inflection point or a higher time frame piece of structure, such as a trend line, such as a horizontal ray or a double top or a liquidity zone, some high inflection point. I'm looking for the ascending to come to, break above like this, and form this like bit of a, they call it like it looks like a flag, but it's a hover because this in a sense is a flag for a continuation, but this is a hover at the top of the structure. Again, this all matters about, you don't just start a pattern on something, you have to read the full story behind it. So I'm looking for it to come to the top of the structure, give us this breakthrough back above, tricking people out, mass psychology, giving us this look like it wants to continue because it did it here, right? And now people are thinking, oh, it's above that higher high, it's above that higher time frame inflection point, buy. And then the market drops back down below, coming back down in these lows before now coming back up into this area. We will see some examples of that, I'm sure, inside of the thing. So there's your mini lesson on the ascending channel, because I want you to know, hey, why is this guy using an ascending channel? Well, here's my ascending channel, and when I have an ascending channel, again, I'm looking for a couple things. I want to see it be in a high inflection area, like this, but also I want to see it have a touch here, a touch here, a touch here, touch here. Some people refer to this as like Elliott's wave. There's so many. Look, trading's trading, y'all. I'm just telling you how I read the market. You feel me? However, this is for me one touch. I'm not looking at it as two touches. However, I'm wanting touches on a trend line like this. I don't care what they look like, how they get there. I just want to see them on. I should say how they look like, not how they get there. I do care how they get there. That's what I'm telling you. A touch here on the bottom. That's a touch just like this is, right? We just got a bigger view of it on that side. Price came down for a second touch, and now we potentially be looking for a third touch inside this area to go higher, or we would get a breakdown to go lower in this instance. Let's delete all that off. So there's our breakdown, small educational video on our tip and trick that I was talking about on the Ascending channel, how to read it. As we're getting into our daily time frame, like I said, I'm looking at these different pieces of structure. I'm loving this right here. That's a beaut. And I'm loving how price is breaking out of this zone right now. So I could definitely see some lows on the dollar. I'm loving how price is breaking out of this. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. And this is still the daily time frame. Okay, something I'm going to keep in mind here is it bounced off of that, and we had this potential target there, and we still have, now I'm going to just draw a box, but we had this potential target in this area too, right? So if we were looking for lows, I love how price is breaking out of here. Okay, there's a flag. There's a flag. I'm going to show you those on the lower time frame, and this is definitely a flag. And we had a flag here before we dropped out. If I move this closer, there's our third touch on the trend line, like I was just talking to you about. 1, 2, 3. Price broke below, gave us a flag, and we were looking for trades down. This is on the daily. So very clear to me where price is going, what it's doing. Let me take those drawings off. Let's drop down into our 4-hour time frame. And I'm going to show you those flags I just pointed out to you. And before, let's do this. That was our daily zone. Here is the pattern that's in play right now. Okay. This is the pattern in question. Because this is going to determine if the zone was valid or not. You feel me? I'm going to keep it on there. However, I'm going to be aware that just below, what's that? 2,000 points maybe on the DXY. I read gold, so I may be completely off. You can correct me in the comments. I'm not going to get my feelings hurt. However many points below, we have this other target. So I want to keep that in mind because we could get price coming up here, then pushing lower, getting either a fake out to go higher, giving us this bigger pattern to go up, or we could get that rejection, go here, grab that, come back up, and then look for some lows and the continued downside. Either way, it's going to give us that indication that price wants to go higher, or it's going to get a rejection and price wants to go lower. So I'm going to keep that in mind as we approach the DXY. Let's draw on those other flags that I talked about. There's a very clear one here, another one here, and then obviously we had that bigger one here. Like that. So there is one opportunity. Let's highlight opportunities for trades could have been taken off of these. Well, first opportunity, second opportunity, third opportunity, and now we're in our fourth opportunity. Now, our fourth opportunity is not just a green light. The reason I'm drawing out these scenarios is because our fourth opportunity is now our quote unquote last opportunity for a sell, right? And people are going to get tricked into a move in this situation. So, this is why knowing where we're at plays such a significant role. So, we don't want to get tricked. We want to be aware, very much aware of where price is and what it could be doing. So, since we're rejecting off of this daily zone, I'm now looking at how price rejected off of it. Now this is a lower time frame now, right? We were on our 4-hour and daily and weekly and monthly higher time frames, and now we're on our lower time frames, our 1 hour and anything below. We had our trend line form now off of that second touch. Let's grab it. So we had our trend line form off the second touch. Price comes over, and really it never even gave a third touch, but you would just tighten your trend line up. Trend lines aren't meant to be perfect. The reason I would tighten my trend line up is because we already got the move away. If we hadn't gotten the move away, I wouldn't dare tighten this trend line up. I'd leave it on the wick down there. So I'm tightening my trend line up. We get a clear rejection, and now right there, I have a picture perfect flag that I would be looking to trade. Now, some people are like, that's not a flag. How do you know that's a flag? Why would that be a flag? Well, honestly, it's a great question. Why would that even be a flag? Because a flag in most textbooks looks just like this. And then, of course, it just immediately goes up, right? That's exactly what a flag looks like. Or a flag looks like this in a textbook. Here, 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 and here. And this is your tops and the bottoms of your flag, like so. That'd be your flag. People don't expect flags, but the market is imperfect, and you have to learn how to trade an imperfect market, not a perfect market. In the picture here, this was our flag. And if you've traded the market long enough, you can see it very clearly. Everything that happened here, because a lot happened in just this small time frame, just in how price reacted to areas, why it reacted to certain areas. But what's important for me at this moment is I'm going to draw a flag on. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just indicating that there's a flag in this area for myself and how we're breaking out of that flag here. We got a smaller flag on our lower time frame with a push just above like this. And now we broke above it, and we would love to see it either go ahead and immediately come back in looking for some lows into this. But I don't see that. What I see is a break above after this strong impulse. Market is very indecisive. It's breaking higher. We did grab this liquidity, but we've already grabbed it once, twice, and look at that wick now that went back above price here. This wick, which is on your hour time frame. Dropping down to our 15 minute. There's our 15 minute. And now we kind of have an idea of, okay, I want to see how to trade the market right now in this moment. And what I would be looking for is a rejection of this. Either way, we're looking for highs in the dollar. However, the bigger picture always in the back of my brain is going to be, this tad bit of how price gets to this and what it wants to do after that point. I am again, there's our 1, 2 off of our daily zone, but there was our second daily zone here. That's why I'm being open-minded to how price wants to react. And it's going to react in that area just because that's what price does. It's going to react. So I'm not worried about it reacting or if it reacts. I know it's going to react. It's about when it gets there, what am I going to do? But that brings us into our gold. Let's go into our higher time frame of gold. Let's delete all this jazz off. I don't need it. in the past, I've covered all this right here. This is a flag, but this is a flag. You remember we just talked about that on the dollar, right? I love to see a flag with the flag at the top. We get a break above and price continues. You can't make it up. I'm on the weekly on gold. You feel me? Is there. Gold, I'm seeing two things on gold. I'm not just seeing one thing. I see a flag there, and then I'm seeing the same pattern right here. Like so, and it's really at the top of this trend line where I'm just trying to encompass all the touches. I'm going to delete that last trend line that you saw off because it's not that important. I just was showing you there was a separation in the patterns. Like I'm reading this whole pattern different now. Take this here. So gold is definitely about to show its hand. It's got to. It's about to rear its ugly head, and it's about to hurt some feelings inside of the market. And I hope you're on the right side of it. So I'm not going to swear by this trend line, you feel me? However, if I was going to use it, I'm more tempted to use it in this manner up here, like that. If I'm going to use the guidance of this trend line, okay? And I'm having a hard time seeing that on the 4 hours, so let's go to the daily. I'm not using this wick because it didn't reject off that wick. This was a rejection down. This was the proof of the actual rejection, giving us our first base and our second base. Right? So there's the first touch. There's our, what did we say? Second touch. That really combines as two. So now I'm on our 4 hour, and again, look, this is 1, this is 2, and now obviously in that sense we're looking for 3 for a trend line. Let's take this off, and we're looking now at this flag outside of the top of this structure for me. So it's important. That's why you evolve your trend lines and have to be open to evolving your trend line. And your trend line's always going to change. It's not always going to be the same, especially as the market evolves. If your trend lines and stuff, your charts don't change, then you're trading off of essentially old information. It's not really doing anything for you. Here, same thing we just talked about. There is our flag that we got indicated with our 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 flag at the top of this bigger flag, and then we get a move up in price, and that's where we're forming another flag just outside of it where we could be looking for some more highs from gold, it would seem. Now let's double check our stuff because we don't just be making stuff up. This is potentially a trend, and this is potentially a trend. I don't want to really have it there because this could be more important of a structure than this was right here. Even though I see this also as valid, okay? Like so. Still a good piece of structure. I'm just a little more cautious on it. Our 1 hour time frame, checking out this trend line we kind of had. Not really seeing anything on the bottom for a trend line like that. So I'm just going to leave this like so. And that's actually a good area. I'm going to keep this where this trend line is. I'm not going to force this one up because obviously this is pretty much the same thing it did here. So I'm not going to use that second touch. There's no need in forcing it because this counts as one. And I'm just going to take this outside one in this instance, like so, because it's more of a liquidity zone on a smaller time frame, a liquidity zone double bottom, aka an arc with one touch, adding to our trend line. If I was going to use a trend line on the top, it would be for this. I would honestly just stop here and then it would develop a smaller ascending there. And we're again at the top of price. Liquidity zone on our smaller time frame. Price barely breaks above it and instead impulsive moves back down below. People think that maybe the bottom's ended, and really we could potentially be looking at some further downsides. Something I will keep an instance though is that this third touch is not necessary. Price does not have to come back inside of this. Okay, we saw all the upside potential for gold. Let's delete this off right here. And let's take this off because this little area is more important. And I'm going to delete that off for just a second. And I'm going to draw on my liquidity zones. 1 hour liquidity zone. I'm looking down here at this bottom. This is a 1 hour liquidity zone as well. And then this is a 1 hour trend line. We'll put that in the center. There. Dun, 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 dun. And then now that we have that marked, again, we have 1, 2. Now we're looking for a potential third touch or price just to continue upwards. I'm saying continue upwards because when we drop down into our lower time frame, let's check our 15. This is what's good about marking up and not having to feel rushed is I can actually kind of trade with y'all and you can see my entire markup process. So this is just a zone. However, I do believe in zones, especially when there aren't really valid liquidity zones. And I see a liquidity zone here, but that's already been hit and on top of hitting the support. 30-minute. And that's our liquidity zone on the 1 hour. It's okay. You know, it's kind of like a override. Let me find a different term. It's kind of like your pass go card on this type of area. Not only did we hit this liquidity zone, and we also have this as a major support, which is shown here, all in this area, this area, this area, all in this area. So it's a major support and resistance. And it grabbed liquidity, and we're kind of forming this very imperfect flag in this instance where we could look for gold to continue higher in which I would be looking for price to react in this area. Delete this off. Be looking for price to react to that in this area for maybe some move downwards to test it again or get a breakthrough forming something. But if we don't get that, then love to see price break above this and push upwards to grab this 4-hour liquidity zone. Or sorry, this 1-hour liquidity zone, and then looking for some highs up into the 2600 area, potentially somewhere in there. Yeah. Now that's obviously much higher time frame. We're on the 30-minute right now. So I'm executing, when I do execute on the 15-minute, it's based off obviously all the stuff that we just built, the bigger picture, but it's mainly built on your 1-hour and 4-hour bias, and then you're finding your entries on your lower time frames. So 30-minute looks good. I bet we can see this pattern. Not really seeing anything. Not anything super clear. So just the stuff that I mentioned to you. This is 15-minute like we discussed. And then we'll draw this back. It's not necessary to have all this out there. Just know it's, relevant. And what we will do is add a thing. How do you add a check mark on this thing? I'm not actually sure. Hey, emoji. Check. Boom. 1-hour liquidity zone hit. Now that's in the back of our mind. And this is going to determine, especially after we've had the test of this liquidity zone here and here, since we grabbed that one. And this was in yesterday's markup. Okay. So, and then we had this fake out the top of it, grabbing this liquidity, looking like it's forming a flag just to draw back down, test support, and then grab liquidity on this bottom. So now that we grab liquidity, that just means like now we have the money to continue to move higher. Is a much better deal to buy at this area, obviously, than up here. So we had some liquidity grabbed. Our 5-minute time frame. Where are we at? So I'm not really seeing a whole lot. Other than this little liquidity zone, like I'm not seeing a ton. I'm just going to mark this area until I have some type of price develop in here. Because for me, like, I mean, yeah, it looks like price wants to go higher. But I just can't really build a story in my mind. And look, if you can see it, that's awesome. But I'm just telling you, for me, in my instance, I'm not really quite sure where it wants to go. But on the grand scheme of things, we're just very fresh into what gold wants to do. May stall out for the rest of the week, or it may not. We don't have news until the 12th, so tomorrow at lunch. So it could affect it, but PPI is like, think every time we've had it on gold, I'm not sure that it's had like a massive impact on it. Like it moves, but it's not like a massive impact. Okay, yeah, there. So I do feel good about this though, because this just tells us, so much as to like, hey, will we get a potential move back down here to get a clear breakdown that gold wants to go lower? Or are we going to get that rejection upwards off of it to go higher? Or will gold just randomly push higher and then reject back down and maybe go lower? Or will gold push higher, break back above, and continue? Guess what? Either way, we're going to be prepared. That's just how the cookie crumbles. So, again, I told you this would be a super in-depth overview of the market. Wasn't rushed on time, or wasn't going to feel rushed on time. We had a lot of trading gems and stuff inside of this. Have you found value inside of this video? If you want more content just like this, then check out the rest of the stuff on TradingView that I have posted and shared. And yeah, we will catch you next Asia session, and happy trading day. Peace.